episode 315 of the Aggressive Progressive podcast. He knows he can only be president for 3.5 more years, right? Let's start the show.
We are now the defenders of the stronghold of democracy and of equal opportunity.
You and I, as citizens, have the obligation to shape the debates of our time, not only with the votes we cast, but with the voices we lift.
The people are looking for honest answers, not easy answers.
The very word secrecy is repugnant.
Clear leadership.
And we are, as a people,
not false claims and evasiveness and politics as usual.
opposed to secret society.
But ours was a nation of the
Secret
ballot,
oaths.
not the bullet.
And a secret
As a
proceedings.
people, we cannot afford to let any group of citizens or any individual citizen live or labor under conditions which are injurious to the common welfare.
Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
Welcome to the Aggressive Progressive Podcast. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I am at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. Those are my socials. Thank you for liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, and telling your friends about this podcast. America, I mean, we're on the eve of potentially a budget shutdown. I think that Democrats have a lot of good reasons to not want to just give in. I think their vote shouldn't be considered free. I also think they should be concerned about Russ Vought. Doesn't Russ Vought sound like a supervillain? I don't know if you watched the show The Boys on Amazon Prime. The company that is in charge of all the superheroes, which is a really evil company in this show. I don't know if you watch it. It's a great show. You got to watch it. The company's called Vought, right? So if you don't know who Russ Vought is, he is the director of OMB. And the question you might be asking is, why are you talking about this unknown guy? Well, this is the guy who holds back the funding that Congress puts out, right? They're doing what they call a pocket rescission right now. He doesn't want to spend money that Congress appropriated. The fiscal year is ending actually today, depending on when you are, or tomorrow. And he's not spending the money, and there's nothing Congress can really do about it right now. They weren't even here for the last 30 days. They just got back. And there's all this discussion about a government shutdown, or the Democrats going to give the Republicans the 7 votes they need in the United States Senate to keep the government open. They may or they may not. But I think that the president of the United States probably should have entered into a negotiation with them prior to today, right? I don't want to see the government shut down. I don't. And I don't think the Democratic leadership does either. And what the Republicans are asking for is a clean CR. Democrats are asking for some restoration of some of the cuts from the Trump big, beautiful bill that takes away health care from millions of Americans and raises premiums from tens of millions more. Probably you, by the way. If you're listening to this and you're a Trumper and you think that all is good in the world and you're on Medicare or Medicaid, it's going to cost you more, or you might lose it altogether. And if you're on the Affordable Care Act, and chances are you may or may not be, but if you're getting health insurance for your work, premiums are going to go up for everybody. That's what's going to happen here. And Democrats are trying to restore some of that money. They want to have a conversation with the president about it. President doesn't want to talk about it. Okay. Republicans are saying this is a clean CR, gets us funded through November, and keeps the government open through November. And then, they're going to go through the appropriation process. We haven't had a real appropriation process in the United States in a very long time. It doesn't really happen. They're trying, to their credit, they're trying, but it hasn't actually happened. So I don't know why Democrats are going to agree to a clean CR when Russ Vought could just take that money and not spend it. Right? I mean, this is the thing, America. Trump is not spending all sorts of money that Congress appointed. Think about USAID. Congress passed a budget, and that budget had money for USAID, and it was rescinded. The president did not spend the money. He pocketed it. What kind of deal are you going to make with this man? Look, the president of the United States appreciates a good negotiation. So why is he not negotiating? I mean, he is the man who created the art of the deal. And for the entire summer, as this was all building up, the president said, we don't need to work with Democrats on this. Well, that is not the case. The Senate is not getting rid of the veto. The filibuster. So because the Senate's not getting rid of the filibuster, you're basically asking Democrats to turn against their base for no good reason. They're not getting anything in return. Where's the negotiation here? I don't know. I would think that the man who wrote the art of the deal would sit down with the party who he's supposed to be negotiating with, and try to come to a deal, right? I don't think that the Democrats should just give up and just give in to the Republicans and the one lever they control, right? Democrats don't have a lot of power. They don't have any power, really. They have the filibuster in the Senate. That's it. That's all they got. Republicans control the courts. They control the presidency. They control the House and the Senate majorities. All the Democrats can do is block things temporarily in the Senate. Why should they give away that power for nothing? We've talked about this before on this broadcast, particularly during the fight for Speaker of the House. Votes are not free, right? You're not going to get 7 votes from the other party for nothing. You need to pay for those votes. You need to compromise for those votes. That is what the founders wanted. They wanted the ambition to counteract ambition and for people to get together and work out a compromise. It's not free. Democrats are not here to make sure Trump has everything he wants. You got to give him something. Why on earth would, what kind of idiot would do that? Would just give in for no reason. So that is why, and again, I know the messaging is pretty poor here, but the Republicans control everything. And all they've got to do is give in on something, whether it is an agreement to spend the money that was in the pocket rescission from Russ Vought, or maybe it is an agreement to restore the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Give in. Democrats need to get something out of it. Votes are not free, and they never should be taken for granted. Listen to this. I'll be right back. So Eric Adams dropped out of the New York City mayoral race. I guess the 15 people who were planning on voting for him are going to be very disappointed that they will not have the option. Although they will, because he will remain on the ballot. I don't know why he waited so long. He had no support. Kind of hard to run for mayor of the city of New York when you had an indictment for corruption that was washed away by Donald Trump. So you had the indictment for corruption, which is damning in and of itself, probably meant you wouldn't get reelected. And then you had Donald Trump, who got 16% of the vote in the 5 boroughs, as your validator, saying that you're no longer guilty. So I don't know that helped. There were all the excuse me, hold on a second. Sorry. There were all of these discussions over the last couple of weeks that Donald Trump was going to try to get Adams and my former radio partner, Curtis Lewa, out of the mayoral race so that Andrew Cuomo would have a clean shot to take one-on-one with Mamdani. Now, I don't know that would have helped Andrew Cuomo, right? I think that any action by Trump hurts whoever he is trying to help in New York City, with the exception of, helping him among Republicans. And maybe that would have been enough, right? Maybe, Curtis Lewa got 28.5% of the vote 4 years ago against Eric Adams. And maybe, of that 28%, 18 19% of them were staunch Republicans who would never vote for a Democrat. But maybe if Donald Trump was saying, go vote for this Democrat, maybe that would have helped Andrew Cuomo. But of course, it would have hurt him with enough Democrats that it would have lost him the election. So it would have been, it would have been the gift of the Magi, if you will. If you guys remember the story of the gift of the Magi, where the woman cuts her hair to buy her husband a saddle for his horse. He sold his horse to buy her combs for her hair. Remember that? The gift of the Magi? So, yeah, Trump would have gotten Adams and Sliwa out of the race only to be disappointed by Cuomo not being able to win because of Trump's support. I mean, if you want to look around the country, there's a lot of dead heats right now. People keep pointing out, oh, New Jersey's a dead heat. Yes, 43-43 in the Emerson poll last week in New Jersey, for those of you paying attention. But if you look at the Trump number in that poll, he's at 51% disapproval. So if it's 43-43 with 12% undecided, or maybe 14%, or I'm doing my math wrong. Yeah, no, it's 14% undecided. And Trump's at 51% disapproval, only 39% approval. I would think that the Republican can do a little bit better than Trump. Not a lot better. But if somebody's saying that they are likely to vote in an election and they disapprove of Donald Trump's presidency, they are very unlikely to vote for a Republican. I think he could do maybe 5 points better. And in this poll, he's doing about 5 points better. Right? Or maybe not. I mean, I think people who are undecided about Trump may vote Republican. But if 51% disapprove, and that has been a very steady number in New Jersey, it is very hard for that person to get above 50%. Just from history, I don't think people who disapprove of Donald Trump are going to vote for the guy who's just like Donald Trump. I just don't. Or who's from his same party. I think that midterm elections, and in this case, it is the off-year election, where New Jersey and Virginia have these, gubernatorial races that happen when there are no other national races going on. I think that's actually a pretty good thing. Allows you to focus on those races. I think that tends to be a sign. I don't believe Tip O'Neill's maxim that all politics is local applies anymore. I think all politics is national. And I think that how your locality feels about the national environment is more important than the candidates themselves. And my theory is definitely going to get tested in New Jersey, right? I think that they're running a rough and tumble campaign in New Jersey, both sides. And that's good. That's what politics is. But I think it's going to come down. The difference is going to be how people feel about Donald Trump. And do they want to send a message to Donald Trump and to Congress that they're not happy with the direction of the country? The right track, wrong track number in this country right now is off the rails, right? 60%, 65% nationally in some polls. That's not good for anybody running on the party of the president. Listen to this. I'll be right back. Welcome back. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I'm at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. Those are my socials. Make sure you're following me there. And, of course, watch me on News Nation. I'm on there all the time, although I was on last week because I was at the Ryder Cup, and I'm bouncing around this week, so I don't know if I'm going to be on that much this week either. Traveling a lot. So check me out on News Nation, News for All Americans. But if you follow me on the socials, I'll post clips from time to time of where I'm at. But you're listening to me here. Make sure you're downloading the Aggressive Progressive podcast if you're not already listening to me there. All right. So, back to New York City. I have had all of these conversations about Mamdani and about the Mamdani effect. Are all of these people going to leave New York City if Mamdani becomes mayor of New York City? I don't know if I believe that. I think, do I think de Blasio was a good mayor? I do not. I do not think Bill de Blasio was a good mayor. And I don't recall there being a mass exodus from New York City when Bill de Blasio was mayor. Not only was Bill de Blasio not a good mayor, he was somewhat annoying to listen to, right? So do I think, I had conversations over the weekend with several people about Mamdani and what's going to happen if Mamdani. I don't know. Let me be clear. I get it. Some of his policies are to the left of me. I tend to be, even though my name is the aggressive progressive, I tend to be more of a center left person than a far left person, right? I'm moderate liberal. And we've had the discussion of how I got the name aggressive progressive. It comes from my Fox News days because I would fight. I would argue. I wouldn't, roll over. Like some people on Fox just wanted to be liked. I wanted to try to win the argument, even if I was fighting against 5 people who, were bound to win because, that's what happens on Fox News. It's a rigged game, baby. It's a rigged game. But that's the way it appears to me, right? That he has policies that are to the left of me. But he also appears to me to be a pragmatic politician. And affordability seems to be all the rage in every race. I mean, look, I talked about New Jersey in the other segment. That race is all about affordability. That's what both candidates, their ads sound the same unless they're attacking each other. If they're talking about what they're going to do, it's all about affordability. Mamdani tapped into that affordability. He tapped into it in the primary, said, I'm going to freeze the rent. I'm going to figure out a way to bring costs down in New York City, maybe make the buses free, bring down the cost of the subway, which he doesn't control. I hear all this stuff. And I keep hearing, oh, my God, I can't believe Kathy Hochul, the moderate from upstate New York, endorsed him. Well, she had, in my opinion, little choice politically, right? I mean, Republicans are going to hang him around her neck no matter what, even if he's doing a great job in New York City. They are going to do everything they can to tie her to him. And if he's doing a bad job, for sure. So why bother? Why annoy your left flank? Just get involved and just do your endorsement and be done with it, which is what she did. And I guess politically, that's very smart. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to, chase everybody out of Manhattan. I think that his messaging seems to be shifting a little bit more central. I mean, I wouldn't say it's centrist, but it is not the socialist paradise that people accuse him of being. Even like we talk about these supermarkets, he wants to open up supermarkets that are run by the city. Well, New York City has food deserts, particularly in the outer boroughs, where it is hard for people to find fresh produce and fresh meat. And they wind up getting a lot of their calories from ultra-processed foods, which, RFK Jr., one of the things I agree with him on has said it's not what we should be doing in America. And I agree. I agree with him on that. And that's one of the rare things I agree with him on. Don't get me started on Tylenol. I only have 2 minutes left in the program today. But he wants to set up supermarkets in those areas, and they have not been profitable. That's why they don't exist. And by the way, this is not a novel idea to New York City. It happens in a lot of red states, particularly big, wide open rural states, where the state or the county or the town open up a supermarket and subsidize the cost of keeping that market open, so that the people who live in those areas can have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and other types of produce and meat. It happens in Florida. It happens in Oklahoma. It happens in some of the reddest of red states. So why is it a socialist paradise in New York? Why? Because the guy's a, quote, democratic socialist? Okay, I get it. That sounds so scary to some people, particularly us in the suburbs. But I don't know. I'd like to see what the guy is a political animal. He used to, he ran for office successfully in a multi-candidate primary when he ran for the assembly I'm talking about, in one of the most liberal areas in New York City, the area represented by AOC. I didn't think he was as progressive when he ran citywide, even in the Democratic primary. But he had those credentials, so he got those voters. Now that he's running, in a general election, he sounds like every other politician. Now, I want him to denounce the, global intifada. I mean, that is a huge sticking point for me. I have a huge problem with that. And you should too. But I don't know. I'm waiting to see on his policies. And I'd love to see if there be a real race the next month. But I'm dubious that that's possible. Welcome back. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I am at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. Those are my socials. Make sure you're checking me out there. Watch me on News Nation. It is news for all Americans. I'm on there a lot, so you can check me out there. And if you're not already listening to me on the Aggressive Progressive Podcast, make sure you download it wherever you get your podcasts. If you are listening to me on the Aggressive Progressive Podcast, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button and telling your friends about the broadcast. We continue to grow by leaps and bounds, and I really do appreciate all of the support I am getting here. The budget showdown will be decided at some point in the next couple of hours, I think, right? If you're listening to me on October 1st, that the government has to shut down, right? There's no more money. The fiscal year is over. So we'll see what actually happens. I don't think anybody really wins in this kind of thing, but I do think that the party of the president gets blamed worse. I just do. The party in power is responsible. And as I said, I don't believe that the Democrats should give away their votes for nothing. And I'm not saying they got to get everything they're asking for, but this is a negotiation, Mr. President. This is a negotiation. You should be using your negotiating skills and coming to a compromise. I read The Art of the Deal. You seem to think that you're good at this kind of thing. So why don't you show us? Why don't you show us how good you are? Get in a room and negotiate. Hearing Chuck Schumer, some of the points they raised, doesn't appear the president had ever heard them. I think it's amazing that it is the end of September. Trump has been president for the second time since January, and he has not formally met with Hakeem Jeffries ever. And he has not formally met with Chuck Schumer ever. Hakeem Jeffries has never met him. Never had a meeting with him, I guess. I think they did meet. I think that is pathetic, right? This shows that they are, again, I keep bringing this point up, and I don't understand why I have to keep bringing this up. The man is not running for re-election. Why then does he continue to operate as if he is? As if he actually operates as if he's a member of the House of Representatives who's concerned about a primary. And it boggles my mind. And I try to keep, I've had conversations with some of my friends on the right about this. I don't understand it. The president is a New Yorker. He knows Chuck Schumer for a very long time. In fact, first time I met Donald Trump, I was standing next to Chuck Schumer at a Hillary Clinton fundraiser. And that is not a joke. That is the truth. And it wasn't even that long ago, right? I mean, it seems like forever now because, when is Donald Trump going to go to a Hillary Clinton fundraiser? But it was like 2003. It was not that long ago. It's in the 2000s. He's a pragmatic New Yorker, at least I thought. And maybe he's hurt over the impeachments and everything else. But this is politics, my friend. It ain't beanbag. You know that for sure now. You're practicing some of it. And if people think they have your number, they take it. And frankly, the January 6th impeachment, very much deserved. Should have been removed, frankly. Should have been convicted, even though it was after the fact. Fortunate for you, it didn't happen. So, but that said, it didn't happen. And had it not happened, had they not impeached you, had they not investigated you, you probably wouldn't be president now. You should be thanking them. Like the fact that he's got his U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, who is an unqualified former aide of his, prosecuting Jim Comey. Let me be very clear. He would not be president of the United States if it wasn't for Jim Comey. Okay? He would not be president of the United States if it was not for Jim Comey. He should be thanking Jim Comey. Jim Comey releasing that email 10 days before the election about Hillary Clinton. That is why Donald Trump got elected president. That election was over. Republicans were not only not coming out, they were down. They were down and out. She was going to win big, or to quote Trump, bigly. But that didn't happen because of Jim Comey. And, you know, you want to talk about weaponization of the Justice Department. The president's border czar took a bag of cash in September of 2024. And Merrick Garland did not release this information during the election. Did not release this information during the confirmation process. What was he waiting for? Like, they didn't prosecute him. They didn't go forward with it. They had this. It's on tape, allegedly, I guess. When are we going to see these tapes? Release the Tom Holland tapes. I want to see it. I want to see the border czar. I want to see him taking a bag of cash, $50,000 in cash. By the way, that was given to him by an FBI agent. So he's denying that he broke any law. Where's the $50,000 that the U.S. taxpayers gave him? Where is it? Where is it now? He hasn't denied taking that money, by the way. He says he hasn't broken the law. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But where's the money? Shouldn't we, the American taxpayers, get that? Man, you want to talk about weaponized Justice Department. This guy has got, I mean, look, the president is instructing his DOJ to go after his perceived political opponents. And that is dangerous. That is really dangerous. I had an elected official say to me just recently, you better watch out what you say. How would I do this job if I was watching out for what I say? I'm just telling you the truth as I see it, right? That's my motto. I'm telling you what I see and what I believe is going on. And I'm giving you my opinion. I am not a reporter, and I'm not pretending to be a reporter. I'm an observer who gives an opinion, and I am never going to be afraid to do that. That would be un-American of me, and it was un-American of that official to say it to me. I mean, people got to grow a backbone. The man who said that to me represents a very progressive part. Very progressive district. I won't say where. I won't give his name. But he meant it. And I think he meant it, to be helpful. I don't think he was trying to be mean or anything like that. I think people are worried. People in public life are worried about what they say because they are worried that the president is going to send the Justice Department after them. Now, I will tell you this. I've thought about it a lot. I mean, I have been mentioned by name by this president multiple times. Not recently, multiple times. But I also don't think that I'm big enough for him to matter, for him to care about anymore. And frankly, if he did start caring about me, it might be better for me than it is for him. Not that I'm welcoming anything like that. I'm not. I think, what's going on for people like Jim Comey and others, I think it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I think it's harmful to our republic, what's going on. And I think the government needs to stop targeting people it perceives as political enemies and start working on fixing problems so that they win in politics. I mean, that's what this is, right? If you solve problems for Americans like, healthcare costs, like affordability, you win. Stop worrying about who's against you and start trying to get more people to be for you. Then the people who are against you won't be attacking you so much because you are so popular, right? Donald Trump is not very popular right now in this country. People do not believe he is fighting for them. They do not believe he is making their lives better. So as a result, he is trying to, go after people who might win elections in the midterms that might then become a problem for him. How about you negotiate with some Democrats and show that you're going to be pragmatic in the last 3 years of your political career and stop with all of this anti-American nonsense that you've been on. He has an opportunity. Look, I am not a Trump supporter. I do not hate him. I've told you this before. I think hate is too big a price to have. But he has an opportunity. Let's be clear. He is in the final term of his presidency. He grew up in New York, so he understands what New York's all about. He probably is feeling very upset right now that his, former hometown has basically rejected him. He's rejected them as well, moved to Florida, changed his residency to Florida. But he has an opportunity to do good things the last 4 years or 3 years of his political career. Instead, what it appears that he's doing is just settling scores. How about you make the people who you think are your political opponents, including me, look foolish for not supporting you by getting good things done? And I know he's trying in the Middle East. I saw that press conference. I don't know how successful that's going to be. I think Hamas is going to reject it, and I think that war is going to continue. I hope I'm wrong, by the way. I hope to God he solves that problem. And I know some of you liberals are out there saying to me, oh, come on, Chris, don't root for the guy. No, I am rooting for him to solve that problem because it is a problem that needs to be solved. And if he could solve it, I don't care that he's an imperfect person to do it. I want the problem solved, and I will give him credit if he solves it. I know he's trying there, but why not try here? Why not try to solve some problems at home so that you are welcome back in New York City and you don't have to feel like your hometown, which you love so much, has rejected you, that you could show up at Yankee Stadium and enjoy the game from the stands like you used to. You used to sit 3 rows in front of me in the old Yankee Stadium. New Yankee Stadium, not so much, but at the old Yankee Stadium, 3 rows in front of me, friend of mine's seats. Not my seats, friend of mine's seats. And I met him there a couple times. And I always enjoyed talking to him. I did. He's got to calm down. He's got to come back to being that person. He's got to understand he's term limited. And he can't run again. He doesn't need to please the base. He needs to solve problems. I don't know that he'll ever do that. But, we could always hope. All right. I'm going to remind you now, as I always do, to seek the truth. Question everyone and everything, even me. Seek the truth. I know it's out there, and I know you'll find it if you look for it. And I'll be back here again real soon to tell you the truth as I see it. I'm Chris Hahn. Thanks for joining me on the Aggressive Progressive Podcast.